Hello and you're very welcome to the Women's Rugby Pod. It's getting ever closer now, isn't it, the World Cup? And I am, as we speak, on the bank at Pennyhill Park watching England train ahead of their press conference after their World Cup squad announcement. Yes, the number one team, the hot favourites to lift the trophy down in New Zealand come November, have announced their squad. And there are a few surprises as well. Well, what's coming up on the pod? We'll be sat down with the England skipper, Sarah Hunter. We'll get the pod wife's thoughts as well. Rachel Burf joining us from a holiday to give her thoughts on the squad, and we'll speak to a few of the England players as well. And of course we'll have a chat with Simon Middleton to get his thoughts of this eyebrow raising squad. As I sit here in Pennyhill Park, the pod wife is sunning herself. Where are you, Burf?
I am in St Martin at the moment, overlooking the beautiful sea.
What, Martin's the newsagent?
Sorry?
Martin, the newsagent on the corner there. Oh,
Yes,
St Martin's in the Caribbean.
That's the one.
Wow, how lovely. Is it white sands and clear blue seas and gorgeous food and all the rest of it?
Yes, it is. We are very fortunate to be in this beautiful villa overlooking the sea. And yeah, it's nice to have a bit of respite.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll try to keep the home fires burning. You crack on. Burf, it's a busy week, busy show. I wanted to get your thoughts and thank you for joining. I'm sure that people appreciate you joining us from holiday. But this England squad that's come out now, as Helena Rowland is now kicking balls my direction, so I'll have to watch out for that. But just your initial thoughts on the 32-player squad that Simon Middleton and his coaches have selected.
Yeah, I mean, whatever 32 he was going to select was going to be so strong, full of great depth. I think there's a few players there that maybe you would have thought would have been a couple of names first on the team sheet to not be included. But I think overall, like I just said, it's such a strong team. Wherever you look, whatever 15 he puts out, whatever 23 puts out, he's got so much experience, but a hell of a lot of youth in there as well.
Yeah, I think from the outset, she's getting ever closer, Helena Rowland. Yeah, it's a squad that pretty much every other nation on the planet would die for. I think that's the overriding thought, isn't it? It's an incredibly strong squad. Yeah. And your World Cup finals probably aren't going to be decided between those players at sort of 27 to 32, is it? But what's your biggest surprise?
I think probably Natasha Hunt-Mohan not being in the side. I think ever since she came back into the squad, it added an extra layer to the England side in terms of experience, the way that she plays, the tempo that she loves to play at, which is all the things that England want to play. I think Leanne Infante's probably been number one for a number of years now, and rightly so. She has a different edge to her and probably stands out the best defensively out of all of the nines. But I think that's probably the biggest miss for me is somebody who's got that experience, has been to World Cups, who is a great person to have around the squad as well, which is really important in long campaigns. And I just think that level of experience matched with the skill level, matched with the way that England want to play, and that off-pitch, that off-pitch level that she can also bring. I was really surprised to see her not as one of the names. I think, when we were at the England game last week and against Wales, and Katie Daly-Flynn and myself are sat in the stands going, well, Natasha and Mo, it sounds weird calling her Natasha, Mo and Leanne are probably your out and outs, and it's now between Lucy and Claudia who kind of takes that final spot. And then we kind of got into conversations, well, actually maybe he would take all of them because Claudia's going to need to cover the backfield. And then, potentially if one of the top two go down, then you're going to need to have a third nine. So, yeah, I think it was quite surprising from my perspective on all of those levels.
So why has he gone with Leanne Infante, Lucy Packer, Claudia McDonald, in your opinion, Burf?
Well, Well, I feel that he's obviously... Lucy Packer did play really well against Wales, and probably sees her as part of the future, and thinks that she's had merit within training, but also in games that she's been able to step up to that level. And, potentially that's part of the reason. I think Claudia MacDonald, even though she had that huge amount of time out, even when she played on the wing, she was outstanding. So you've got a massive tick there that he needs to have another back three player, considering Abby Dow. So I think Claudia was probably always set to go, and then it was whether or not she could cover 9 and what she looked like at 9. And when she came on at 9 at the weekend, she obviously her delivery was excellent, the speed of ball that she played at. So in Simon Middleton's eyes, it's probably like, right, well, we've got a winger, not a cover winger. We've got someone who can play wing. And then we've also got her that she could also cover 9. But then we've also got Lucy Packer, who, has that level of intensity and the speed that she plays at, and her fitness level to allow England to continue to play at high tempo. They probably feel like they've got those bases covered. But I think on everybody's thoughts is, well, what happens if Leanne gets injured? And then you're relying on 2 very inexperienced 9s to step up in a major tournament to deliver. So I think that's where people probably are a bit torn to say, well, Mo's got so much experience, she could step up to that level, no phase, it wouldn't worry her. And you just wonder, and that's probably, why people are thinking, well, Leanne, what happens if Leanne gets injured or needs resting or whatever? Then that could be the area that people are a bit concerned about, is that level of experience that Claudia and Lucy don't necessarily have.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the call is close, isn't it, between Lucy Packer and Mo Hunt, if you're going to put it that way. And I think that off-field stuff, she's very close to the likes of Emily Scarrett and Sarah. They're professional people. They will move above and beyond that. But the dynamics of great energy. Remember the time she had with the Barbarians, and there was only one choice for captain after a couple of days, just was her energy off the field and pulling people together. But I agree with you. I think it's a really, really big call. We're going to speak to Simon Middleton later, so we'll get some sort of his thoughts obviously on that. But tell us about Lucy Packer then, Burf. You know her obviously very well from Harlequins.
Yeah, I mean, as disappointed as I am for Mo, obviously I'm elated for Lucy Packer. She's one of the quietest players for a 9 that you could ever experience, but ever since she's been part of the pre-season squad, and then being offered the contract with which an opportunity came for her with Claudia's injury that allowed her to then excel, take her game to a complete new level. But she's somebody she's always doing extras. Like in a Harlequins environment, she's always out there practicing charge downs, throwing her small frame onto a massive crash mat constantly after training. So I think that work ethic, that drive, that determination, and she probably went into that environment knowing that she was really up against it to get an opportunity to get a seat on the plane, but never used that as an excuse, just kept working hard, and all of her rewards have come true for her. I mean, she's so excited about the opportunity. I think for her, she was a little bit surprised, but not surprised. Like, she knows that she's done well and played well, but I think, when you're in that environment, and I've been there before, when you know that there's experience above you, it's the safe option, it's the easy option for a coach to do. So in your mind, you're probably thinking, I might get a chance to get in as that third choice 9. And so I'm just really elated the fact that she stuck at it. She's really earned her opportunity. And that was a big pressure game for her on Wednesday night. And I think it'll be interesting to ask Simon that, did it come down to the performance on Wednesday night? And, Lucy didn't put a foot wrong. Her distribution was excellent. Her clearance was excellent. The way that she can get tempo into the game. It's a big pack to boss around, and she did that. And so she's absolutely earned her opportunity to go. It's like all those things, isn't it? I was very fortunate to be capped at a World Cup, and the coaches took a chance and a risk on me. And, sometimes coaches need to do that to give those players those experiences and those opportunities. because otherwise how do you get them? And she's obviously earned that opportunity through training and from the games that she's had minutes in.
Yep, and in those performances you're talking about and previously, she hasn't put a foot wrong. Certainly, not a huge foot wrong. And she's not let anybody down, and I'm sure that will continue in New Zealand. What else then? No Amber Reid, no Vicky Fleetwood. Very, very experienced players. No Sarah Beckett. What else caught your eye in that squad announcement, Burf?
Yeah, I think, again, it's a bit similar conversation around Amber Reid and Tatiana Hurd. I think it's really difficult because we talk loads about that centre combination and what Simon Middleton might be looking for. And I think what he gets from Amber, he can get from Helena. He can move Skaz around to get what he wants. But I think what Tatiana brings is that real direct, explosive, dynamic ability to really go hard at the line. I don't think he's looking at her as necessarily like a distributing second receiver kind of player, but that ability to get teams on the front foot, big physical games against Fiji and France, they're going to need some really strong go forward then to be allowed to play around on the edges. I think Amber, she's just been so riddled with injuries over the years, and consistently getting the opportunity to play hasn't been in her favour. And again, very difficult for somebody to come on it and make a position for them to get a seat in, against Wales and against USA. So obviously she didn't play in the USA game, so she probably only had one more opportunity and one shot to really bring alive, pick me, why I should be on the team. And so I think again, Tatiana hasn't had a lot of experience, had a big amount of time out of injury, but again, a bit like a Lucy Packer, every time she's come on the pitch, she's done some things that other players can't do. The way that she can ride 2 or 3 players and still get a great offload away, her acceleration to the line, and then that last minute offload as she's being tackled is something that you're going to need to challenge against defences. And so it's not necessarily like the distribution that Amber can bring, the way that she can move the ball. And so, another big tough decision, losing that experience. But then when you've got, potentially experience built around those players, and that's what's critical, and that's something that I think England have done so well over the last few years is, okay, right, we're going to bring this young player in, but we're going to make sure she's plugged between 2 major experienced players. And obviously, and I think Tatiana has shone in that, and she obviously had an injury to her hamstring, which took her out of a lot of the pre-season. But again, those camps really mattered. I think a lot of us talk about, what happened in the USA game, and I've definitely been one of those, and what's happened in the Wales game. But the way that they've trained throughout this pre-season, they pretty much have internal games week in, week out. So there will be a lot of consistency that these players have shown, and that's why they've got their opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Burf, they are moving, and I need to grab a few players to get their reactions as well, besides which you need to continue to sun yourself. Thank you so much for your thoughts. I really appreciate it. And it's interesting times. It's getting very close now, isn't it?
It is, but how exciting. The squad is out, finally. One of the few teams yet to announce, and here it is, and the reality is here now for all these players that, they're on a journey to make some history. Yeah,
and, the 2 biggest events of the year, the Queen's funeral and the Red Roses World Cup squad announcement. And where's Burford? Nowhere to be seen.
Don't worry, thank God to technology. It's keeping me in touch with everything.
Right, go and enjoy yourself.
Cheers, Johnnie. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Helena Rowland, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
Simon Middleton. Miss, thank you so much for coming on the Women's Rugby Pod. You're the man in the hot seat, obviously, with a squad selection. First of all, are you glad that first bit is over? And we spoke just a little bit earlier down the training centre. It's the hardest job for a coach, or certainly the most important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a tough part of the job, but it's nowhere near as tough as it is for the players. Giving the news is is a lot easier than having to receive it. But the players were great. You know, they all handled it in their own way, and they were hugely respectful. And the first thing they did was wish the rest of the squad, you know, good luck.
3 weeks ago, before you come into the USA and the Wales game, how different was your 32 to the one you just announced today?
Not massively. I think the 4 or 5 key choices were always in the balance. We had the majority of the squad, and because we've talked it over every day. You know, we talk the squad over every day, and then you sort of react to some of the things that are happening. Like you pick up a bit of an injury, and then you go, how does that impact the squad? And we reshape it a little bit and whatnot, and then that injury clears up, and then you're reassessing. But I think it was pretty consistent. What we knew we had in front of us, and particularly the choices we had in front of us. There were definitely some that ebbed and flowed a little bit. You know, the decision on the nines was quite fluid, and then you go, right, well, who's making the big statements, and Claudia with her performances on the wing, and we said all along, I said to Claudia all along, one of the key attributes I could get her on the plane were her versatility, because she was a little bit, do you see me just as a scrum half, and does it water down my chances if I'm playing on the wing? And I was like, no, it actually enhances your chances, but it doesn't guarantee them. But then the form she hit, both in training and then playing, was fantastic, and and she's a good scrum half as well. So that one was that. I think like Lucy's been really, really consistent across all the training camps we've had, all the games she's played when she started or she's come on, and she's played some pressure games. 2 games against Wales she started and handled really well. And then and then Leanne had a really tough season, and then came into the comp and took a bit of time to find her feet, but then got there over the last couple of weeks. Mo probably the other way around a little bit, came in with a real bang, and then not lost form or anything, but just then you look at how the player's natural instinct fits the game plan, and that was how we sort of sifted through the 9 process and got to where we got to in the end with that. And you sort of do that with 1 or 2 of the other choices. If you look at the game model we've built now, it's very much about high speed, repeatability, and you need a certain type of athlete for that, and that's, I would say we've probably left some slightly better footballers out of the squad for the athletes that we've got in. They're still very good players, but I'm sure she won't mind me saying this. Sarah Becky is an outstanding rugby player. She has a great knowledge of the game, and she has great skills. But she's had an injury back half of the season, and with the speed we train and play her now, she just hasn't been able to recover the physical capacity that we want to play the game with, and that outweighs the skills that she's got in this instance, and they're the things that you build in, when you're making your decisions.
You've seamlessly, like a ski sock, just slid into the number 9 debate. That's obviously the headline, isn't it? Natasha Hunt, a World Cup winner, an Olympian, huge experience, good friends with plenty of the squad. We know about her on and off the field. Explain there. There's a World Cup final tomorrow. Leanne Infante goes down, tweaks a hamstring. 100% confidence in Lucy Packer and Claudia McDonald to play that game plan that you want to play.
Yeah, absolutely. We wouldn't have picked them otherwise. Because one of the questions we asked of every position was, can that player play 60 minutes in a World Cup final from the starting position? That's what we asked. And when it comes down to some of the real tough choices, that's the question we asked. It's like that bit about, isn't it? Is this a good decision or a bad decision? If you're talking about it in context of the squad, just say, well, will the squad benefit from it or not? And if it's no, don't do it. And if it is, do it. And that's the similar question we asked. Can they give us 60 minutes in a World Cup final? And yeah, we'd be really confident we could.
Let's move to the most important area of the park, the front row. Laura Keats, now a fully qualified dentist, comes in, tremendous character, lucky enough to work with her a little bit and do some commentary. Tremendous character. What does she bring to the squad apart from an outstanding scrummager?
I think you touched on it there. You know, her character, her consistency of character, and her, I think her squad ethic, which is very much, this is about the squad. What can I do that will make the squad better? And if that promotes her into a starting position or a finisher's position, or it leaves her an NPR, it will unquestionably impact on her, but she won't show it. She'll just go, well, I'll do what's best for the squad, I'll do what's right for the squad, and she'll do it wholeheartedly. But that is secondary to what you say, which is her rugby ability. You know, that's what she's been picked on first and foremost. But you know, I'm absolutely thrilled for her. I'm gutted for Bryony, because Bryony's worked her socks off to get into the best shape she can and develop herself. You know, and I know she's ready. If we need to bring her in, I know she's ready. But when you weigh everything up and you go, right, what do we need, and what might we need from this particular role within the squad? You know, Keats ticks those boxes. Can you be ready, having potentially not played hardly any games? And that's not saying that she won't, but you know the quality of our front row. You know, and Keats is she's a realist, and she'll be like, right, I know what's in front of me. I'll do my best to get in front, but if I can't, I will be ready if one of those isn't available, and that's what you want.
Midfield, just finally, Vicky Fleetwood, I think if you follow the squad and what have you, probably that's not a huge surprise. Hasn't been hugely involved sort of as a start over the last year or so. But that midfield, Amber Reid, Tatiana Hurd goes sort of almost in place of Amber Reid.
Yep.
Talk us through that decision.
Yeah, you know, and again, you know, you look at certain things and you go, right, risk and reward. What does that player give us? What does that player give us? Rido gives us experience. She gives us distribution. She has a kicking game. She's a great organiser, a great communicator. Tats gets you over the gain line. Like, we've got players who can do all the other things Amber can do. And this is exactly what I said to Amber. I'm not telling you anything I didn't say to her. I said, when you look at that squad, and you've got to work on the principle everybody's available. Probably won't be the case, but you've got to work on that basis. That's your start point. We've got players who can do all those skills, but the one thing we've missed as a 12 is somebody who can change the dynamic of the game and get us over the gain line. And Tats is not just, you know, she's actually trained fantastically well. You know, she's not in there just because she gives us that little bit of difference. She actually delivers it, you know, consistently. She did it in training, and she did it in the games. And sometimes, you know, rugby is a very simple game, and it's built on momentum. And if you don't create momentum, you're going to struggle. And she's consistently given us momentum. But she's also a very good defender. She's worked really hard on her skills. She's got good distribution skills, you know. So does she tick all the boxes that Rido ticks? No, absolutely not. But she gets you over the gain line. She's an unbelievable work ethic, fantastic attitude, never say die. You know, she's had horrendous injuries, and she just battled her way through, absolute battler. And so you go and you go, look, is it a bit of a gamble? I think a lot of positions you could say, well, they're a bit of a gamble, but they're a bit of a gamble if you don't do them. And she was definitely that. And the other bit is she was in form. She's in really good form, you know. And Rido struggled a little bit. I mean, she had a great season for Bristol. Probably played more than she has, but she had a couple of niggly injuries and just not quite at the level she would want to be at. And Tats has just opened that gap up a little bit.
We're talking. You may disagree, and you don't have to particularly act, but players we've spoken about almost free to that sort of 25 to 32 type players. So I think your starting 15 or 23 is pretty solid, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've seen that over the last year or so. But one player who I expect would start come fully fit is Abby Dow. Delightful to see her back out there and, you know, training majority of the session. How much of a risk is it? I'm guessing not much, otherwise you wouldn't have taken her.
No, a bigger risk not to take her at this point.
World class.
Yeah, world class. Best finisher in the game. I think, you know, and don't get me wrong, she has had really meticulous return to play protocols and markers put in place, and she's ticked every one. And if she misses any, and touch wood, there's only really tomorrow now left, then we'd look very quickly. We'd look at the situation again, because the one thing we would not want to do is put her in a situation where she's vulnerable. She's not at this point. She's exactly where the medics hoped to be, and probably a little bit further on. So we'll get the last bit out of the way tomorrow, and then we take it. And it's like you say, it's just what the session you saw for today is that's as extreme a session as she's done so far. In terms of a rugby complex. So it was as sort of thrilling for us to see her running on the field, and as it was for you guys.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. Last question, properly. Just a word about the captain. She obviously does a bit of co-hosting here on the pod. Generally, 2 weeks ago, she was nervous. I could feel a quiver in her voice, and I said, they could break both your arms, both your legs. They would still find a role for you. That's how important you are. Do you agree with that? With that opinion? Just give us a word about Sarah Hunter as the captain.
She's you run out of superlatives for her, but I think the best thing I could say about her is that she's getting better. As a captain, I have seen such a change in her over the last year. She has to work really hard on some of the delivery skills in the past, but like everything that she does, she doesn't want to do it unless it's absolutely perfect. It always has the absolute maximum effort from her, whatever she does. But I think she's just relaxed into the captaincy role a little bit more now. So when she speaks, she's a lot more. And I say this with the greatest respect to her. It's a little bit more Katie Daly-McLeanish. Like Katie just got in the circle and spoke. She spoke from her heart, and like your goosebumps were up, and you were like, okay, I'll play for that. Sunter's really taken that on now, and and that was probably the last part of the captaincy bit for me. And she's really smart. She's worked out how to use her generals around her, and then what you're going to get with her performance-wise. But she's really on top of driving the standards. Every session she's on it. There's nobody in the squad is left in any doubt whatsoever what the standards are for this squad, and she drives them. And and then she flicks from this ferocious rugby player on the field into the most articulate, beautiful person. Polite and like you say, so unassuming. She would never ever take a selection for granted, let alone captaincy. And that's what makes her what she is.
Well, I can probably use your words back to you now, but the easy bit's done. Now the hard work starts. How many times have you said that over the last 24 hours?
Oh man,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But go well the expectation. I could talk to you for hours now, as ever. But I hope there's roundabouts with beers. I hope there's no travellers. I hope you enjoy the opportunity and just enjoy it, mates. Thanks so much for your time, as ever.
Finishes like that one as well.
Great stuff. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate.
I'm Claudia MacDonald, and you're listening to the Women's Rugby Pod.
So we've heard from Rachel Burford. Now I'm joined by a lady. I mean, it's avalanche time. She's been picked in a 14th World Cup.
That hasn't even been 14 World Cup.
No, you're quite right. Your fourth?
Fourth, yeah.
Fourth World Cup as England's skipper. And it was your 21st birthday yesterday.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, 21 again.
What a couple of days you have.
I know. It's been pretty special.
Where are the emotions?
All over the place. Like, you throw in everything that's happened with the Queen as well. It's like a whole bag in there. Obviously, ecstatic that you go into another World Cup after what has been, seems like the longest pre-season. But throw in that the last couple of years, COVID, everything that's happened, and you're happy. Mixed emotions, because there's people that you've trained with for like the last 2-3 months, but not that the last how many years since 2017 that have been on that journey that like haven't made it. So you feel for them that they're not part of the squad, and like you hurt for them, because you can only imagine to begin what they're going through if that had been you that hadn't been given the nod. So yeah, it's a whole like bag of emotions going on. But yeah, ultimately, like, like, yeah, so pleased to be getting on that plane and going off to New Zealand.
And we spoke genuinely. We did a bit of chatting before we hit the red record button. And you were genuinely nervous a couple of weeks ago, and it didn't matter what I said. I think my exact words were, I think they'd break your arms and your legs, they'd still find a role for you to go to New Zealand. That's how important you are. But talk us about the rest of the squad, the makeup. I understand it's a very much a coach's decision. Were you consulted in any way, shape or form? No, none of the senior players.
No.
So just take us through, when you've looked through that squad,
Yeah.
do you get a sneak preview?
No, nothing.
No?
So my decision was obviously to find out at 7 o'clock. So even if I wasn't in, I wouldn't have known till the whole squad came out. I just thought, have one message. Like, it's easy to deal with.
Yep.
So obviously the message comes and it's like a picture of all the names, and you're like, so you're scanning for your name, found your name, and then you're like, oh yes, I'm in the squad. Oh my God, yeah, happy. And then it's like, right, now go through it. And then obviously it takes a while to realise like who's in, who's not. Like, so that's kind of the process of it. But yeah, so.
And in terms of the feel of the squad, the right, I mean, you can do nothing about it, but for you, the right squad, the right blend, the right balance. It's a 32-player squad that most nations will be absolutely delighted with, and some really, really tough calls in there. But got most of those calls right and the balance right? Yeah,
I think everyone's been training so well. Like, I would have hated to be those three coaches. Like, they've made some big calls. And ultimately the buck stops with them in terms of their decisions, and they'll have their rationale behind them, and like whether you agree or disagree with those selections, you get behind it. And like, this is a great team that is going down to New Zealand and is going to push as hard as we can to win that World Cup. And I think there's a good blend of experience, of like people going to their first World Cup, people with a handful of caps, people with a lot of caps. There's youth in there, there's age, there's everything in between. So yeah, I think it's such an exciting squad, and I just think we say it all the time, and I think there's so much to come from this team. I think it's quite scary, and I think that's what's the exciting thing, and I think that's the thing that keeps pushing us onwards to be better. Like, this team drives itself. It's not happy. Like, we trained today and like it was an alright session, but like there was areas where we're not happy with, and we're like we get frustrated because we want to be as good as we can all the time. So yeah, I think this squad has got the potential to do really great things, but it's only potential. Like, we have to put that out there on the park, like each game we play in.
Yours to lose is a phrase that's been bandied around. She's grimacing, but it is. Wayne Smith article over the weekend. Think the Blackferns have kind of lost it already. How does it sit with you, and how do you eat that up, as it were?
I think for us, we've got to not look at any of that external stuff. Like, we've obviously set our goal to go and win it, as has every other nation, let's be honest. But we don't listen to everything that's external to us. We focus on ourselves, what we can do, how we can perform, how we can be the best we can be. And I think we set our expectations of performance levels so high that I don't think anyone else outside the group would set them as high as us. So that's what we are. We're close. We like keep everything internalized and try not like let the white noise around us get too much at us. And I think from someone who's been to like 3, like, it's how you try and like pass that on to people who like haven't been and experienced that, and try and share your knowledge of going, well, just focus on us and what we can do and not try and worry about all the periphery.
Last one, because as ever you are a ridiculously busy lady and everyone wants to talk to you, and I'm hogging you. Sunter, MB, you're going to a World Cup as England captain, and strong chance you'll come away with another World Cup. Just how proud, have you had a moment just to look in the mirror and say,
oh,
well
Johnnie,
done, SH?
Emotional? No, I haven't. I think
you should do, Sarah.
I think I need to get on that plane, and maybe when we get to New Zealand. I think it's one of those things when you look back and you recognise what's happened, and there's been moments along the way that I've gone, I'm so lucky to be in this team. Like, I'm absolutely just loving every minute of it. Like, the highs, the lows of it, and just going, this is incredible. And yeah, we'll go and do what we can do. And whatever happens, I want to have made sure that I've enjoyed the journey that we've been on as a squad. And what will be, and things work out happen for a reason. But I don't want to look back and go, what happened on that journey? Like, I want to live every minute and say that I've been present in that moment.
Unbelievably wise words, yet again, as ever. Santa, go and do yourself and your country proud.
Thank you. You nearly got me, Johnnie.
So here we are at Pennyhill Park. Sadia Kabeya has joined us.
I have.
How delighted are you? The smile probably tells it all, Sadia.
Yeah, super excited. Came as a bit, it's all a bit of a shock, but yeah, I'm super excited to get out there and just get to New Zealand.
A lot of journos and what have you here today, and we've been discussing various the minutiae of the squad and what have you. We spoke about sort of 18, 24 months ago. Not sure you would have been sort of in that picture. You almost come from nowhere, and certainly deserve your place after the last few games. What has made you come into the forefront of the coaches' minds, do you think?
Moving to Loughborough Lightning.
Says the Loughborough Lightning coach there, Hunter.
Yeah, definitely Loughborough. Yeah, it actually did help me a lot coming to Loughborough. They really upped my game, and yeah, this time last year would not have, if you mentioned international rugby to me, I probably would have just laughed. So being here right now is crazy, but I think probably the forefront of my game is my tackling and my defence, and I think that's what I've stuck with throughout the year and coming into camp knowing that's my strengths, and just going at that, whacking anything that I can, putting my head where it shouldn't be, and hopefully that's what caught the coach's eye.
Hearing lots of great stuff, Sunter, about the energy of this young lady, not only on the field, and I think we're playing to see in the last couple of games, that energy there and in the Loughborough shirt, but in and around the camp as well. What is Sadia bringing to the party with her here, embarrass her fully?
She brings a lot of energy, a little bit forgetful sometimes.
Just a little bit.
I mean,
Says you.
That's me, so if I'm saying it, her and Maud combined, honestly, I've done things to help my loss. So Abby Ward bought me a lanyard to keep my room key in, so I haven't lost that yet. But in all seriousness, a lot of energy, a good person to have around. And that's what you want. You're going away for 8 weeks. You want people who are going to contribute to the team and add real value away from rugby, and Sadia certainly does that.
Great. Can you quite believe that you're here? What, you got one more training session, or one more day's training tomorrow, flight Friday, and then you're at a World Cup representing your country, and you're hot favourites to win it. I mean, do you have to pinch yourself at times, Sadia?
Yeah, I don't think it's really sunk in yet. I don't think it's going to sink in until we actually get there after the very long flight and start getting into training, and maybe even by the time the first game comes. But yeah, it's crazy, and it's very exciting to be going there as obviously number one in the world, the top picks, but we're also going to New Zealand, playing in their backyard. So it's going to be a huge challenge, but I think we're rising to it.
I've got a feeling this is a redundant question, but the reaction will say it all. I guess you're happy with that, just to be on the plane now, and you don't want to get in that starting 15 or the 23 at all, do you?
Well, yeah, obviously I'm super excited to get into the squad. As I said, this time last year it wouldn't have been a possibility for me, so being here is amazing, but I'm going to keep pushing, keep trying, and if it's just for the squad to be in training and everyone pushing themselves, it pushes everyone to get better, and we play the best on the weekend. So if I can get into that starting 7 shirt, I get into it. If I can't, I'm going to be here for the squad and be here to train to the end. So we'll just see what happens.
Brilliant answer. One last question, silly one. Who's your idol when you're a young rugby player or young sports, even younger? Yeah, I know. Happy birthday. Yeah. Who did you look up to say, I want to emulate that player? That's the one.
So when I did start getting into rugby, it was definitely Maggie Alfonsi, and I think every open side usually says Maggie, but also we have a lot in common, coming from the same background, and just seeing someone who looks like me coming through the pathway and then being absolutely amazing, wrecking ball of a player. And and I feel like I try to play similar to that. So, yeah, Maggie was definitely someone who I looked up to.
Sadia, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy the flight. I know it's long,
God.
but boy, oh boy, was it worth it. Go do what you've been doing of late in the World Cup.
Thank you very
Best
much.
of luck. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Well, there she is, that famous number 7 shirt. She spoke about Maggie. I mean, you're on your 47th World Cup now, Sunter. You've been through a few 7s. Maggie there. We've got Marley now, but this young lady could make that number 7 shirt hers for a very long time to come. She's a very exciting prospect, and I like this selection because probably other teams don't know too much about her either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, she's obviously come to rugby a bit later, and she hasn't been playing that long. And I think she's only just scratched the surface about how good she can be. And I think what's like really evident is that she's obviously started to come through. And then you've got Marley Packer, who's been like the standout 7 in England for so long. Has then raised her game. Like, it's probably no coincidence that Marley's probably had the best season she's ever had, because she's had not only Sadia knocking on the door, but obviously like Vicky Fleetwood, who unfortunately isn't going to the World Cup, like pushing her all the way. And like Sadia emulated her about, like, that's what I think this team has got. You've got 2 or 3 people in each position, like pushing each other. But I feel like she could go on to be one of England's all-time greats if she keeps on that trajectory of how she's progressing. You know, I genuinely think sort of the world's her oyster with how far she wants to go.
I've spoken to Burf a little bit about the backs and what have you, and getting a couple of the forwards in now. Sadia Kabeya, we've just had in. Here's Laura Keats joining us.
Bag's a bit too high for me.
It's a lean.
Need
It's
to squash it down.
Well,
Thank
you guys with your core.
Yeah.
Come on, let's have a hug.
Oh,
Well
hello.
done.
I'm going to come over and say hi to you.
Congratulations.
Team are reunited.
Yeah, indeed. Commentary team.
Yeah, indeed.
Worcester commentary team.
Yeah.
Enough about commentary in Worcester.
Yeah.
You got red rose on your shirt. You're going to New Zealand for another World Cup. How
I
good does
know.
that sound?
Honestly, like unbelievable. Like I obviously really dreamed it would happen, and was like, but to actually see my name on it was little tear, and I was like, oh, like finally.
Great to have this young lady, more experienced lady like yourself, back in the squad, I should say.
I think that's the only reason she wants me back is to up the age.
Yeah, I was going to say we've increased the 30s club again, so that's nice. No, in all seriousness, obviously, like what Keatsy went through at like the last World Cup, and like missing out, and then like the sort of like path that you've had over getting back in, getting injured again and everything, and then also like being a hero and becoming a dentist at the same time. Like, absolute legend. Yeah, you know, like things always happen for a reason, and yeah, I'm so pleased that she's back in the squad and has another World Cup to go and try and win.
Yeah.
How did you find out? Because I know you could choose in or out. How did you choose if you were in?
So I chose a message, and then just didn't get one. So it was a bit like, right, there's something obviously.
Admin error.
Yeah, maybe they're just going to send mine at, whenever the squad comes out. And then saw the photo for the squad, and then was like, looking through it, obviously didn't really don't know how it's going to come. Is it going to be pictures? Is it going to be names? Is it going to be in alphabetical order? Is it going to be forwards back? So you're like scanning this photo for what you're looking for, and then saw my name and just was like, really? And then it was just literally.
Was it
emotional.
that disbelief? Because it's an area of huge strength for England, and it's been a real focus the last 18, 20, 24 months.
Just because of not really being in the squad. So obviously when I got back in 2020, I was a bit like, okay, this is it. Like, I've got back after my Achilles, got back into an England shirt, back into camp, kind of, back into this atmosphere. Crack on now, and hopefully that will be through to the World Cup. Because it's always been my aim after 2017 to get back. Once you have that kind of taken away from you, obviously I didn't choose to not play. I got injured, so it's always been my aim to come back. And then obviously having done my Achilles, and then I did my ACL, sorry. I just wasn't sure. It's one of those where... And then your MCL. And then I did my MCL. So it's one of those where it's just literally been like this, like up, down, up, like I've got back in injured, might get back in injured, that kind of thing. So to then be like, oh, back into camp, but I haven't got selected to play, and then I'm back into camp, and it's this kind of up and down. So yeah, I mean, it was a genuine shock. I didn't know whether I would be in or not. Like, yeah.
Who's the first person you called?
My dad. Yeah. Messaged my dad. Not sure.
Okay. And New Zealand, what are you gonna face over there? I mean, you will be in the Goldfish Bowl. I guess characters like yourself, the 30s club, that kind of experience is going to knocking on 40s club.
Hey, now, not me.
That experience is going to be valuable, not just on the field, but also that Hyper Bowl that you're going to live in.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's incredible that it's over in New Zealand. It's been obviously this side for forever. So to have it in New Zealand is amazing. The way they support rugby and women in rugby over there is awesome. So it's going to be a massive big deal over there. We're going to probably come under quite a lot of scrutiny, but we just crack on with it,
What differences? Last one, because I know you're desperate to go and get something to eat and what have you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm starving.
Front row club. Me too.
You were supposed to bring a snack,
gurgling,
remember?
yes.
It's your turn for the
Oh,
snacks.
it's my turn for the snack, sorry. The difference between the squad when you were entrenched in it before, not when you dipped in and out, but when you're entrenched in it before, and the difference between that squad and this squad here now. Are you utterly invigorated by some of the younger players? But just take us through those differences.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of the girls are like 14 years younger than me, I think, is the one of the youngest, which is ridiculous. Obviously, yeah. I mean, if things were different for Sarah Hunter, she could have popped one of these children out, and she could be mother and daughter playing together. That would be one story. The girls are incredible, and obviously these girls, some of them have only known professional rugby, which is insane. We try and say, even at club, remember the days when we were doing the fundraising committee and writing to local businesses, and it was literally just handing out fundraising packs to local businesses and still paying subs. So yeah, no, definitely the girls have been really good, and definitely keeping us young, I'd say. Running rings around us as well, so
Great
takes
stuff.
us a while to warm up, doesn't it?
Good. Well, if there are any cod liver oil companies out there, truck some over to New Zealand.
Yeah, literally.
Sure, Laura Keats
Collagen.
and Sarah Hunter. Collagen.
Collagen.
Not that.
No, not
That's
Botox.
Botox,
Not
sorry.
Botox, just collagen.
Wow.
Collagen's good. What are you trying to say, Onion?
You're going to be in trouble here.
Yeah, I am
End
going to be in
it,
trouble.
end it.
Laura Keats, thank you so much. Really
Cheers,
appreciate it.
thank you.
All the very, very best in New Zealand.